Hey there, my name is Chris. Thanks for watching today. I put out the call on Twitter at Harris Football asking what you wanted to see on this Friday morning YouTube show, and the very strong majority wanted a recap of sorts, looking back at the plays that mattered in the very competitive 49ers Cardinals game, and some talk about what the implications might be going forward. And you know what? I can do that. Now, I don't have coaches tape, obviously, because it just happened, but let's look at some broadcast footage and we'll talk about what happened and what matters. The biggest takeaway is the big Jimmy Garoppolo stat line, 317 yards and 4 touchdown passes from a dude who coming into the game was the number 23 quarterback in fantasy, with 9 touchdown passes his prior 7 games. He'd ranked 23rd in passing yards as well. He's not a threat to run. Basically, he had helmed an extremely conservative attack and really hadn't been asked to do all that much. Thursday, he was asked to do more. Let's get a sampling. Let's be honest, if you watched this game, you know it started out like it's mostly been rolling for Jimmy G. A ton of checkdowns, a ton of throws, shy of the sticks. And the first touchdown, I'm going to go ahead and say this is more George Kittle than it is Jimmy Garoppolo, and that has been the constraining factor of Garoppolo this year. Not that he's been bad or made too many mistakes, but that the offense has called for him largely to check down and hand off. Nice play, George Kittle. But as this game goes on, as the Cardinals really started pushing the Niners, you saw much higher degree of difficulty stuff, like this throw to Emmanuel Sanders. And really, Jimmy G pulled it off. This is an amazing throw with Sanders still in the middle of his break when Garoppolo makes the throw. We know Jimmy G's release is among the quickest in the league, and you just could not throw this ball any better. This is difficult. So I want to get to more players, so I'm not going to show you every throw from Garoppolo, but on the final clock-killing drive on a 3rd and 11, this play is worth lingering on for a moment. That's a huge conversion to Emmanuel Sanders, again, who was awesome in this game. But this play, this is Jimmy G. Cardinals rush 4, basically play sticks defense. The protection doesn't hold up, and Garoppolo's going to have to throw it early again. And in that instant, to read this defense and see that Sanders isn't going to be open if he leads him, if the throw leads him the way he's running. So he's going to have to throw into a crease between the defenders, basically lead him back to the inside, and to process all that so quickly. And frankly, Sanders being on the same page, also amazing. I mean, that is about as difficult a conversion as we're going to see all year, and it helped clinch the game. What I came away from this game thinking is, oh, Jimmy G can do this. But will he every week? I can't tell you that. The plan here seemed to be to still play it conservatively, and if ever there was a game on the schedule as a 10-point road favorite against a bad Arizona defense, you thought, sure, another 175-yard effort could be coming our way. Well, this was probably it. It's good to know that this is in Jimmy Garoppolo's bag of tricks. I still am going to find it pretty tough to trust week by week until we see it a couple more times in a row. A quick break to thank BetDSI.com for sponsoring. I think you know by now that BetDSI is the place where I place wagers on the NFL games. I've had an account there. This is my 5th season in the NFL. I always come back. It works. It's great. The site is always up. The lines are always right. If you've been thinking, I watch a lot of sports on TV, maybe it would be fun to give myself a little rooting interest here and there, I can personally recommend BetDSI. So we have 2 promo codes if you'd like to open a new account. Go to BetDSI.com. If you're a frequent player, use the code HarrisTube. They'll match 100% of your deposit. If you'd rather make a couple of bets and then potentially cash out, use the code HarrisTube5. They'll match 5% with no extra volume requirements to cash out. Either way, thank you, BetDSI.com. Okay, the other quarterback from Thursday night, Kyler Murray, it's getting to the point where he's starting to seem, I hate to say this, like Alex Smith. I mean, nearly everything was a check down or just a designed short little pass for almost the entire game. It's to the point where the running, okay, I got 34 rushing yards out of it. At halftime, Kyler Murray had 46 passing yards. It's almost like the way he's being used, it's the opposite of what we expected. Like the floor is actually okay with all this easy short passing, but the ceiling is almost non-existent. Now, this was a hard matchup. But it's been like this just about every week. I cannot get that excited about Kyler Murray as a fantasy starter right now. No, what gets me jazzed about Murray for the future is that he can do stuff like this. Good for Andy Isabella. It's his third career catch. He takes that one 88 yards for a touchdown. He sure is fast. But I particularly want to focus on the throw. This is maybe the only high degree of difficulty completion and maybe even the only high degree of difficulty attempt that Kyler Murray made all night, and he does absolutely nail it. Okay, it's not very smart coverage trying to undercut the route in pure man defense, but still, Murray puts the throw exactly how high he needs to put it, exactly as hard as he needs to put it. It's the kind of throw that tells us that the kid is going to be good when the cast is better around him, when his line is better, and when the Cardinals take the reins off and don't run most of their routes 5 yards down the field. All right, now the guy you really wanted me to talk about most was Kenyan Drake, my number one flag player from 2018. Wrong, bad call. And this year, trapped in a loveless marriage for 2 months in Miami, he busts out Thursday night. This very first play of the game we've been showing you here, okay, they gave him room. It's well blocked, but you can see he breaks a tackle to make it happen. Now, he wasn't amazing after that first run. That represented 36 of his 110 rushing yards, but he was good. This was the touchdown on the first drive, only the second rushing touchdown the Niners allowed all year. Kind of running over Richard Sherman there a little bit, blocked well. You can see what we've always said about Kenyan Drake. He's a different level of athlete. Athletic-wise, don't come at me with your Chase Edmonds. Drake is bigger, Drake is faster. Raw materials-wise, he's always been really good. Now, I'm not going to lie, the Cardinals' offensive line opened him some holes. This is a baby screen against the blitz. I don't know, Quan Alexander there has a chance to get around an offensive lineman and sort of misjudges Drake's speed. I like to see that. I like to see defenders think that you're slower than you actually are. It's good stuff. And this is good too. It's an easy catch, but a lot of this is congrats you didn't fall down. But I think that's a good move to the outside. It added up for the entire game to 162 total yards. Not all of his own making, a lot of 5-yard gains where it was blocked for 5 yards, but good stuff. Pretty consistent stuff from Drake. But listen, people, as much as I'd like to be right a year later, there's this guy in Arizona named David Johnson, and I'm not sure Edmonds goes anywhere either. Both of those guys have 10 days to get ready. If you're thinking, awesome, finally, Drake escaped Miami, let's get him some weekly workload. Yeah, I don't think that's what this is. I think this was it for Kenyan Drake. You can add him, and maybe as a handcuff if the other guys get hurt, but I think it's going to be really hard to start him if anybody else is active in that backfield. Okay, so we're going to pick up a couple of more guys from Thursday night. Tevin Coleman, he's a turkey mayo, and boy, he went right back to playing like one. This fumble was called back. He was ruled down. Maybe don't fumble anyway, though. It was indicative of most of his night. Last week, you gave the ball to Tevin Coleman near the goal line. He was in. It was golden. This week, it got a little more Tevin Coleman-esque. Nothing much he could do on this play, obviously. This little screen could have been a monster play with 2 blockers in front and very little in the way. You might be looking at an 80-yard touchdown, and we'd be having a very different conversation right now, and then Coleman just dropped it. It was a complete trash bag performance in a complete wonderful spot where everyone else in that backfield was questionable. Coleman seemed like the one safe bet, and instead it was Matt Breida who went off. And in fact, just to rub salt in the wounds, Coleman did get another carry from the 5-yard line, and everything looked like it would be rescued and he would have scored this touchdown, but it was called back by George Kittle holding. Fitting, I suppose, considering how many touchdowns Kittle has already had called back himself. I hope you sold on the back of those 4 touchdowns from Week 8 from Coleman. I hope you sold. And then let's wrap up with Kittle. Listen, I already showed you the couple amazing Manny Sanders plays. Sanders emerges from this game with his arrow pointing way up. And meanwhile, on this one, Kittle got his knee rocked accidentally by Chandler Jones's helmet, trying to block on the run. This was the 49ers' first play of the game, and it looked bad for a little while. But obviously, we already showed you the touchdown that Kittle scored soon thereafter, so he did fortunately come back in the game, and it turns out he actually is not allergic to the end zone, which is great, and this play happened in the third quarter. You know, guys who are able to come back into games and play a lot, I tend to think that they're going to be okay after 10 days worth of rest. But the truth is, Kittle was not in there on the game's biggest drive at the end. He's standing on the sidelines watching. We can only hope he's healthy. I think if he is, the bust out is coming. He's an extraordinary player, but certainly he's going to show up on injury reports for Week 10. And Emmanuel Sanders, again, if Garoppolo isn't given license to throw like this, if they're not in a bunch of close games, if they aren't aggressive, then it always won't look so good for Sanders. But boy, looked good for him on Thursday night. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of Week 9, and please give us your support. It's really simple. Just hit the subscribe button on our channel. Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button. Write a comment. Tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on. And of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button, and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.